You're listening to the Power Agent Blogcast, empowering agents to elevate their business to the next level.
Challenges are just a guide, leading you, don't run and hide. You've got the heart, you've got the drive, feel it pound, you're alive. Power Agent.
Imagine waking up on a Wednesday morning. It's May 20, 2026.
Yeah.
You've got your coffee, you open up your laptop, and you get to check out the housing market in Chicago.
Right, like maybe you're a buyer hunting for a new place or...
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you're just a real estate junkie who loves looking at houses in your neighborhood.
Oh.
We all do it.
Oh, absolutely.
But today, something is just very, very wrong. You search the biggest real estate portal on the internet, and the houses are just gone.
Like completely missing.
Yeah. Not a glitch, not a slow connection. 43,000 homes for sale in the Chicago area have simply vanished into thin air.
It sounds like, the inciting incident of a cyber thriller or something, but this was a real, highly calculated business maneuver. And it wasn't a hack, it was someone intentionally flipping a switch.
That is exactly what we are unpacking today. We are looking at a massive, really high-stakes dispute between the brokerage Compass, the portal Zillow, and the Chicagoland Multiple Listing Service, which goes by the acronym MRED. The mission of this deep dive is to figure out how and why 43,000 sellers suddenly became collateral damage in this corporate power play, and, what this actually means for the future of buying and selling homes. Because if a geographic footprint that massive can get wiped off the map overnight, it can happen anywhere.
It really can.
Okay, let's unpack this. How does a seemingly boring database dispute turn into a real estate standoff of this magnitude?
Well, to grasp the scale of what happened, we really need to look at the timeline. So at approximately 9:00 a.m. Central Time on that Wednesday, May 20, MRD pulled its entire listing feed from Zillow.
Wow.
Yeah, they severed the data pipe completely. Every single active listing in their system was suddenly invisible on the most visited real estate website in America.
Which is just an incredibly aggressive move. You don't just pull the plug on 43,000 homes lightly.
Yeah.
So naturally, the assumption is that Zillow must have done something catastrophic.
Right, like a huge data breach or something.
Exactly. They must have violated some massive system-wide protocol.
But the trigger was actually astonishingly small. Zillow simply refused to display exactly 9 specific listings.
Wait, 9, just 9 houses?
Just 9. And the kicker is that those 9 listings weren't even in Chicago. They were Compass listings located in entirely different states, just spread across the country.
Wait, let me get this straight. So Zillow refuses to show 9 out-of-state listings because they violated Zillow's listing access standards.
Mm-hmm.
And in retaliation, the Chicagoland MLS drops 43,000 local homes. Why does the Chicago-based MLS care at all about 9 random listings in other states?
That is the pivotal question right there. And it comes down to a major structural shift that had just happened quietly in the background. You see, MRED had recently expanded from a regional platform into a national one through a specialized partnership with Compass.
Okay.
So they essentially built a bridge that allowed Compass agents anywhere in the country to route their internal listings through the MRED system to get them syndicated.
Oh, I see.
So when Zillow declined to display those 9 out-of-state Compass private listings that were flowing through MRED's newly built pipe, MRED retaliated by cutting off the entire Chicago market.
That is, it's like a local cable company blacking out the internet for an entire major city.
Yeah.
That's because they had a dispute over carrying one obscure channel from 3 states away.
Yeah, that analogy perfectly highlights the sheer absurdity of the leverage used here.
The collateral damage is entirely disproportionate to the actual slight.
Exactly. Because when MRED cut that feed, the people who felt the pain weren't the executives sitting in boardrooms at Compass or Zillow.
Right.
It was the 43,000 everyday homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
People sitting at their kitchen tables, stressing about selling their houses, totally oblivious to the fact that their digital curb appeal had just been weaponized.
Over a fight about 9 properties they had absolutely nothing to do with.
Yes.
And if this was just, a hot-headed mistake, like a rash decision made by an IT director in the heat of a database dispute, you'd expect a scramble to fix it, right?
I think so, yeah.
But literally, within hours of this blackout, while thousands of agents and sellers are panicking, Compass starts running highly targeted social media ads aimed directly at Chicago buyers.
The timing is impossible to ignore. What's fascinating here is they ran a very specific side-by-side comparison for Lincoln Park, which is, one of Chicago's most competitive and popular neighborhoods.
Right.
The ad basically showed a Zillow search yielding only 20 homes, and right next to it was a Compass search showing 118 homes.
That is a staggering visual for a buyer who doesn't know what's going on behind the scenes.
It really is. And the caption on the ad removed any ambiguity about their strategy. It literally read, and I quote, "Zillow.com is now missing the majority of listings in Chicago. Start your search on Compass.com to find your home today."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were actively funneling the confusion they helped create straight into their own ecosystem.
Which completely changes the complexion of the blackout. They use the exact gap in the market that their partnership had just facilitated as a lead generation tool.
Exactly.
And this connects to a much larger legal battle happening in the background, doesn't it? Because Zillow is currently involved in a massive federal antitrust lawsuit.
Yes, they are. And in that lawsuit, Zillow specifically alleges that Compass CEO Robert Refkin has personally been urging multiple MLSs to terminate their data feeds to Zillow.
Let's pause on the antitrust angle for a second, because I think when most people hear antitrust in real estate, they immediately think of like price fixing or those huge commission lawsuits we always hear about.
Sure, yeah.
But this is a totally different flavor of antitrust, isn't it?
It is entirely different. This alleged behavior falls under anti-competitive steering and data hoarding.
Okay.
Because antitrust laws are designed to prevent companies from creating artificial barriers that harm consumers in order to monopolize a market. So if a brokerage uses its leverage over local data utilities to essentially blindfold consumers on third-party sites, forcing those consumers to use the brokerage's own proprietary portal.
Regulators are going to view that very suspiciously.
Yeah. Very suspiciously. It's an attempt to control the infrastructure of the market, not just compete within it.
And this brings up a massive contradiction, I think. Because for years, Compass has defended their strategy of keeping listings private, what they call private exclusives, under the banner of seller's choice.
Right.
The argument is that some high-profile sellers, or maybe people going through a divorce, they genuinely want privacy. They don't want a bunch of foot traffic, and they want to tightly control the marketing.
Which is a completely valid concern. I mean, there are absolutely legitimate practical reasons a seller might want to keep a listing off the public grid.
Totally. But if the ultimate goal was truly about protecting a seller's privacy, why broadcast a mass blackout so publicly?
Exactly.
If you really care about sellers, why celebrate 43,000 of them losing exposure on the biggest platform in the country and a sponsored Facebook ad?
It completely undermines the whole seller's choice narrative.
It really does. Which means we need to look at who actually got hurt when MRED pulled that plug.
Yeah, and the list of vanished listings is incredibly revealing because it wasn't just Compass inventory.
Not even close. Those vanished listings belong to Keller Williams agents, RE/MAX agents, Coldwell Banker, Century 21. They belong to independent boutique brokers and solo agents who are just out there hustling to build their businesses. And most importantly, they belong to the sellers who hired those agents. And none of those individuals asked to be removed from Zillow, which is a platform that drives, over 60% of all real estate search traffic?
Yeah, over 60%. More than half the eyes looking for a home, just gone. Poof.
Wow.
And the agents representing those homes were left completely in the dark, having to explain to their clients why their multi-million-dollar asset was suddenly invisible.
Wait a second, I have to push back on the mechanics of this. Isn't an MLS supposed to be a neutral utility? Like the water company or the power grid for real estate data?
The ideal, yeah.
So how can a competing broker essentially reach over and flip the switch on a Century 21 agent's listings? I mean, if I'm an independent agent in Chicago paying my monthly dues to MRE, how is a national brokerage allowed to dictate where my data goes?
Well, you'd think it functions like a public utility, but the internal mechanics of an MLS are very different from a municipal water company.
Okay.
To understand why this feels like such a betrayal to agents, we really have to look at the history of why the MLS was created in the first place.
Right. Take us back.
So back in the late 1800s, real estate brokers realized that trying to sell homes purely in silos was super inefficient. So they started gathering at local association offices or even just local coffee shops to share their exclusive listings with competing brokers.
They realized that working together was better for business.
Exactly. They realized that by cooperating, by putting all the inventory in one shared pool, homes sold faster and sellers got better prices.
So the fundamental DNA of the entire system is cooperation for the benefit of the seller.
Yes. The core mandate is to serve the local members and get their sellers the absolute maximum exposure possible. It is supposed to be a cooperative, neutral utility. But MLS boards are made up of local brokers.
Oh.
And when a massive national brokerage gets enough influence on those boards, or when MLS starts relying on that brokerage for software partnerships and national expansion, that neutral utility suddenly starts acting like a subsidiary.
Wow.
By tying itself so deeply to Compass's national strategy, MRED completely inverted its 140-year-old historical purpose.
They effectively prioritized one single brokerage's business fight over the interests of thousands of their own dues-paying members.
And that raises a terrifying question for any agent listening. Are you comfortable with a competing broker being able to pick up the phone and have your listings pulled from any search portal?
I can't imagine any agent is okay with that.
Because whether you're comfortable with it or not, that is exactly what happened here. Your listing, your client, your livelihood, caught in the crossfire of someone else's power play.
It paints a picture of an MLS that has entirely lost control of its own mandate. And if it's not about protecting sellers, and it's not a technical glitch, we need to define the ultimate end game here. What is the actual strategy behind all this?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the overarching strategy has a very specific name in industry circles now. They call it the company FSBO.
Okay, FSBO being the classic acronym for sale by owner.
Right. But here we are talking about a company FSBO.
Got it.
So a traditional FSBO is a homeowner trying to sell their house themselves to avoid paying a commission, usually by just sticking a sign in the yard and hoping for the best.
Yeah, we've all seen those signs.
But a company FSBO is a listing that a brokerage intentionally restricts, so it's only accessible to buyers who are working with agents inside that one specific brokerage.
Oh, so you restrict the data to keep both sides of the commission in-house. But what we saw in Chicago takes this strategy to a completely new, incredibly aggressive level. It's no longer just about keeping your own listings inside your own company walls. This is a hostile takeover tactic.
It really is the weaponization of inventory. The play now is to actively remove your competitors' listings from the major public portals while simultaneously heavily marketing your own restricted inventory.
Wow.
You can see a massive convergence of tactics here. There is the heavy push for private listings. There is the aggressive use of coming soon features to keep properties off the wider market for weeks at a time.
Right.
There is the MRED partnership. There was even a data sharing deal Compass struck with Redfin. Every single one of these maneuvers points in the exact same direction. They want to control the listings and they want to control the search portal.
It's basically creating a monopoly on visibility. And here's where it gets really interesting, because we actually have the hard data on what happens when you play games with the property's visibility.
We do, yeah.
If a brokerage is sitting across the kitchen table from a seller saying, hey, let's keep this private, let's keep it exclusive to our network to build hype, we need to look at how that actually impacts the seller's wallet.
And the financial numbers are just brutal. They completely dismantle the argument that restricted exposure benefits the homeowner.
Zillow actually looked at 2.72 million transactions recently. That is a massive data set.
It's statistically bulletproof.
Yeah. And they found that sellers who limit the market exposure of their homes sell for 1.5 to 3.7% less than those who put their home on the full MLS right away.
Let's ground those percentages in reality for a second. On a $500,000 home, a 3.7% loss is $18,500.
That is a massive chunk of change.
It is real money coming straight out of a family's equity. Money that could have paid for a child's college semester or a huge renovation. And it's lost simply because their agent's brokerage wanted to keep the listing in-house to secure a double commission.
It's a staggering financial penalty. But the data from Bright MLS, which is another major data system, highlights an entirely different penalty, which is time on market.
Right.
Bright MLS found that pre-market listings, the ones kept off the main feed initially, take a median of 37 days to reach a contract. Compare that to just 20 days for a home that gets full MLS exposure from day one.
That's almost double the time sitting on the market. And we really have to consider the psychological impact that 37 days has on a prospective buyer.
Oh, for sure.
In modern real estate, buyers are conditioned to expect fresh inventory. If a buyer sees a home that has been lingering for nearly 40 days, Their immediate thought isn't, oh, this must be an exclusive premium property.
No way.
Their immediate thought is, what is wrong with it? Is the foundation cracked? Is it wildly overpriced?
Yeah, it creates a huge stigma.
Yeah.
A stale listing becomes a target for lowball offers.
Exactly. The logic is mathematically and psychologically undeniable. Maximum exposure serves the seller. Restricting exposure serves the brokerage. There is literally no middle ground in the data.
So we have a situation where the math definitively shows that restricting exposure hurts sellers. You have an MLS blackout that clearly hurts independent agents and competing brokerages. If restricting exposure mathematically hurts the seller, then pushing seller's choice makes no logical sense.
None at all.
And the brokerages have to know this data. So if they are taking a nearly 4% hit on their client's equity, what are they getting in return that makes it all worth it?
They are buying market share using their clients' money. They're using the seller's equity to subsidize their own corporate growth.
Which is wild.
It is. And that brings us to the urgent action plan for anyone navigating this environment. Because if you are an agent listening to this, you have to get out in front of this immediately. You need to proactively talk to your sellers about why their homes might suddenly not be appearing on Zillow or other major portals.
Because if you don't warn them, they're going to find out on their own. They're going to pull up Zillow on their phone at a dinner party to show their friends their listing, and it's just going to be gone. Or worse, they're going to see a targeted Facebook ad from a competitor telling them that you failed them.
Exactly. They deserve to hear the truth from you first. You have to explain that the industry is experiencing a hostile takeover of data, where giant corporations are trying to grab enough control to make decisions that blindfold buyers. You have to be the one fiercely advocating for their maximum exposure.
But agents also need to deal with the infrastructure itself. I mean, you can't just accept that the local MLS is going to allow massive brokerages to dictate the terms of syndication.
That is step 2, demanding structural accountability. Agents really need to go directly to their local MLS leadership. Attend the board meetings, write the emails, and ask very specific questions.
Put them on the spot.
Yes. Ask them, could the Chicago blackout happen here? What ironclad contractual safeguards do you have in place right now to prevent a single brokerage from hijacking our data feed?
And if they hesitate?
If the MLS leadership dodges the question or gives a vague answer about, evaluating partnerships, that is a massive red flag.
It means the back door is wide open for the exact same power play in your town. This entire saga in Chicago completely strips away the marketing spin. When you use 43,000 everyday sellers as bargaining chips in a database dispute, and then run an ad telling buyers to use your platform because the other guy is suddenly missing inventory.
You are showing your true colors. This is entirely about market control.
It is about building a walled garden.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean for you? If you're a seller, it means you can't just sign a listing agreement and assume your home is being blasted out to the world. You have to ask your agent really tough questions about exactly where and how your home will be marketed.
Absolutely.
You have to demand full MLS syndication from day one to protect your equity. If you're an agent, it means you have to fiercely protect your data and hold your local MLS accountable to its original 140-year-old mandate of cooperation. And if you're just someone who likes browsing houses online, you need to realize that the digital window you're looking through is being intentionally restricted. The landscape of how we buy and sell homes is being rewired right behind the walls.
And if this company FSBO strategy actually succeeds globally, it sets up a fascinating and, frankly, chaotic future. Because if major brokerages wall off their data, the real estate market basically turns into the streaming wars.
Oh, man, that is a brilliant way to look at it. Remember when everything was just on Netflix and it was so easy?
Yes.
And now you need subscriptions to Hulu, Max, Disney, Apple TV just to figure out where one movie is playing. That's what buying a house will look like.
Exactly. You'd have to check 20 different brokerage websites just to see the available inventory in your zip code. It would be an absolute nightmare for the consumer.
A total mess.
But human nature dictates that if you create a massive inefficiency, someone will eventually step in to solve it. Which makes you wonder, will we see the birth of a brand new third-party aggregator industry?
Like a whole new tech sector.
Yeah, a whole new type of tech company designed simply to scrape and reassemble all these fragmented, walled-off pieces just to fix the very problem the brokerages intentionally created in the first place.
It's the ultimate irony. They break the system to control it, only to create the need for a brand new system. It really makes you think. The next time you wake up, grab your coffee, and search for a home online, you might not just be wondering if a house is in your budget. You might have to wonder if you're even allowed to see it.
A sobering thought to leave on.
That's all for today. Keep your eyes open, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.